Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, we're going to be breaking down a piece of Commanders news that Commanders fans have been waiting weeks for. We finally got it today. I'm going to be breaking down what that is here in just a second. But before we get into the content today, make sure you click that subscribe button and join the largest community of Commanders fans anywhere here on the YouTube platform. We are the largest individually run Commanders news program anywhere on YouTube because we provide you guys free, informative, and entertaining Commanders videos every single day. We go live for every single Commanders game, and we have the largest Commanders watch parties anywhere on the YouTube platform. And if the Commanders make a trade or a big move here before the NFL trade deadline, just 2 weeks away now, we're going to be getting you guys a breaking news video when and if that move goes down. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We are so close to 50,000 subscribers. Help us get there today by clicking that subscribe button. And now let's get into some really big pieces of news here. We'll start with the biggest one of the day, and this is what we've been waiting for multiple weeks at this point. The big question was, when was Terry McLaurin going to return to the Commanders' starting lineup? He's been missing from practice for weeks, but today, Coach Dan Quinn said that Terry, in preparation for this week's game versus the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, is slated to practice this week, and he could be on track to play against Mahomes and, of course, Steve Spagnuolo's defense this weekend here for the Burgundy and Gold. And my initial reaction to this, guys, is that it's about damn time. Now, obviously, Terry needs to get healthy, all those different things, but it's been such a mysterious process for 17, getting back into the lineup here where it was originally listed as a quad injury, and then he goes and sees a core body specialist, and then it gets reported that's more of a hip flexor thing, and he's not even able to run on it, and then we don't see him at practice, and we don't see him get media availability, so we can't talk to him, and it's just a lot of gray area and a lot of unknowns surrounding this entire situation when it comes to Terry McLaurin. And to get this update today from Dan Quinn, who's been saying for weeks that he has felt optimistic about Terry McLaurin's injury status, now he's finally confirming, yes, he will be back at practice this week, and he's going to have a chance to play in what is going to be a massive football game for the Washington Commanders as they look to take down the team that many people believe is the best team in football right now in the Kansas City Chiefs and get back to 4-4 and make a statement in front of a national audience. And Terry McLaurin could be a big piece of that if he's able to go. Now, my question is, when Terry gets back, all right, it could be this week, it could be next week, we'll see when he gets back. But my question is, when he's on the field, how fast can Terry get back to being scary Terry, right? Because we saw him early on in the season, and he wasn't the same scary Terry that we know and love. That was an all-pro last year in this offense. He wasn't getting targeted as much as he was last year, and, when he wasn't as efficient. So, he missed the entirety or pretty much the entirety of training camp this season, and he signs that contract late after holding in, so he didn't have a lot of practice in training camp in preparation for the season. And then he has this really drawn-out injury, which has taken away even more practice time from Terry McLaurin. Plus, as we know, as receivers get into their 30s, they can lose a step. And, certainly there's the risk that Terry McLaurin is just never the same receiver again. And this team was kind of suckered into giving him all that money on that new contract extension. Those questions are going to be answered as the season goes on. But I'm really hoping here that Terry McLaurin over the next several weeks can get ramped up so that hopefully the Commanders can make a push towards the end of the season here with Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Bill Krosky-Merritt, this entire offense fully healthy, and hopefully this defense can find a way to turn it around by that point in the season as well, so this Commanders team can at least threaten to make the NFL postseason this year. Some more good news on the injury front here at the wide receiver position. Deebo Samuel looks like he's going to be able to play in this football game as well. He sat out last week, nearly played, but he ended up sitting out versus the Cowboys with a heel injury that has been bothering him. Apparently that has been progressing to the point where he will practice this week, and I would say at this point it looks pretty optimistic that Deebo will be back out there, whether it's Jaden Daniels throwing him the football or Marcus Mariota. Jaden's going to be questionable this week with a hamstring injury. If you have both Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel out there for your offense, it's going to help out whoever's quarterbacking this team, okay? Because Deebo is such an important piece to this offense as an underneath threat, as somebody that's a screen threat, somebody that can take jet sweeps and orbit motions and be kind of like that decoy player that kind of draws the attention of defenders and opens up things down the field, and especially for guys like Terry McLaurin who can separate down the field, be a true deep threat. If you get these two guys back into this Commanders offense this week, I kind of like some of the supplementary receiver options that the Commanders have shown that they've had over the last few weeks. Chris Moore has shown some good things. I think Robbie Chosen has shown some good things over the last several weeks. Maybe they bring up Treylon Burks, but you got Terry McLaurin. Hopefully he can come back this week. Then you got Deebo Samuel. Hopefully he's back this week. And then between Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Chris Moore, and Robbie Chosen, I think between those four, I think I would go with Robbie Chosen as the number 3 receiver. He showed some really good things last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. He was getting open. He showed that he still has his legs with him. He was creating some separation. So if you could have McLaurin, Samuel, and Robbie Chosen, that's a 3 wide receiver trio there for this team that I think, this team can work with heading into this game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and gives them a fighting chance to maybe put up quite a bit of points and try to keep up with Mahomes and that Chiefs offense. And then another question that I have here surrounding the receiver position here is, how long does it take to ramp up Treylon Burks, and does he get a helmet? I kind of talked about in the video talking about what he means to this Commanders offense last week. I said they kind of brought him in as Deebo Samuel insurance. So maybe he gets a helmet if Deebo doesn't, and he's got that injury. Maybe that's the way that it kind of goes there. But maybe he gets a helmet regardless. I guess we're just going to have to see how they feel about Chris Moore, how they feel about some of these other guys that might be on the chopping block here, frankly, with Terry and Deebo looking like they're going to be back here in the lineup this week. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Is Terry McLaurin cooked at this point in his NFL career? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor here at Prize Picks. But while I'm telling you about our sponsor today, simply give me a yes or no to answer today's pin question. With that, let's have word from our sponsor here today at Prize Picks. And you and I, we make decisions every single day, right? But not all those decisions get you paid. Well, if you download the free Prize Picks app on your phone today and you know ball, if you're right with your decisions, you can actually get paid for your correct sports opinions. Don't miss any of this excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Football season is here and in full swing, and you better believe I'll be getting my Prize Picks lineups in all season long. Prize Picks is super simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. And a new feature from Prize Picks that I absolutely love is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and does not return, Prize Picks will not count that as a loss. So for Thursday Night Football this week, guys, I'm taking the less on Justin Herbert passing yards, the more on Justin Jefferson receiving yards, and the more on rushing yards for Kamani Vidal, the number 1 running back in Los Angeles right now. So you guys can download the app today. Use code CLNS to get your lineup in before Thursday Night Football or before professional football Sunday or college football Saturday this week. Use code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Now, a little bit of bad news here, at least in my opinion. ESPN John Keim said on his podcast this week, early on this week, that the Washington Commanders still view Marshon Lattimore as one of their best cornerbacks, and that he's not going anywhere, at least not for now. And I think they're just taking too long to move off of this, man. Like they invested quite a bit in Lattimore, and they don't want to, move off of him, quote unquote, this early. But we're 7 weeks into the season, and he has just not been very good. He's had a couple of truly abysmal performances, and for me, guys, it's hard to see things getting better in the secondary with Lattimore back there. And he's somebody that's just not been sticky in coverage whatsoever. He's been getting beat when you do play those higher-end type of wide receivers, and I just don't see that really coming to an end anytime soon. He doesn't have the same athletic twitch that he had back when he was a younger man, and he was legitimately a number one shutdown corner in this league. And unfortunately, in my opinion anyway, he's a shell of his former self. And I think the sooner that this coaching staff gets him out of there and tries getting some more speed and some more youth in there, I think that would be the best thing for this football team. But benching Marshon Lattimore was only 1 point in my 8-point plan to try and help to make this Commanders defense better immediately. I put out that plan on the channel yesterday, guys. I'll put the link to that one in the comments and description of today's show, and I'll put the chip in the top right on your screen right now if you want to check out that video. Now, to finish up today's show here, guys, I want to give you guys a little bit of a fair warning, all right? And if you're expecting Adam Peters to go out and trade for somebody like a wide receiver or an edge rusher or a cornerback before the NFL trade deadline this year, I would say probably temper your expectations. I think the Washington Commanders are heading towards a youth movement where they're going to be trying to collect draft picks, not give them away for veteran talent. That's what they did this offseason. That's what they did at the trade deadline last year. And frankly, especially in the case of Marshon Lattimore, it just hasn't worked out to this point. You guys can see here that the Commanders don't have a lot of, especially premium draft assets. Right? You got a pick in round 1, you got a pick in round 3, got a pick in round 5, and then you got 3 late round picks there in round 6 with 2 picks and then 1 in round 7. So not a whole lot of opportunities to add young talent to this roster next year via the draft. And I just think that this team is in no position to buy at the NFL trade deadline this year. You're under 500. Now, maybe if you win the next 2 games and you feel like, you're one good player away from really competing and you want to do like a pick swap sort of deal, like it's not impossible that the Commanders could get in position to maybe make a move. But I would say the heavy favorite is that the Commanders are not going to be buying. In fact, if they keep losing games, which if the defense can't get any better, guys, that's going to continue to happen. I would actually say the Commanders are more likely to be sellers at the deadline in 2 weeks with certain veterans on the final year of their deals that could potentially fetch some more draft picks that could help this team get younger and more explosive and faster in the years to come. So if anything, probably expect the Commanders to be selling this year. But, if the Commanders feel like they want to add somebody on the free agent market, I could see that being a possibility. Like at this point, usually a lot of teams are talking about trade rumors, but, I think that the trade rumors surrounding the Commanders are going to be more about players to send to other teams. If they're going to be adding veteran talent to this roster for the rest of the season, guys, I think they're going to probably prefer to not give away their remaining draft assets to be able to go and get those players. But, there's certainly a lot of positions here that you could potentially target. Defensive end, of course, with all the injuries that the Commanders have. Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste are all out for the season. Drake Jackson is on IR. Just very, very beat up at defensive end, but also a wide receiver. If you want to bring in another receiver, you could probably do that. Inside linebacker, if you wanted to finally move on from Bobby Wagner in this defense, I think that would be a smart idea. Cornerback, if you want to let go of Marshon Lattimore, you could always bring in like Stephon Gilmore, who's still a free agent. And has played in this defense before, knows the terminology. And then free safety is another one where if you want to get rid of Quan Martin, and if you want to, bench him, you could potentially get somebody as a free safety like Justin Simmons, who is still available as a free agent, by the way. So if you guys actually want me to go over these 5 positions in a free agency targets video this week, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. And if we can get to 500 likes on this video today, later in the week, I'll put out a free agency targets video at all those positions, talking about the best available players at all those positions that the Commanders can consider adding to this roster to try and make this team better. So now let me know down there in the comment section, who is a current free agent that you would want the Commanders to sign? If you could only sign one free agent right now to make this team better, who would that be? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And for me, I'll finish up today's show by giving you my pick, which would be C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And what I would do with C.J. is I would put him in the slot, and I'd make him the big nickel of this defense. You look at teams like the Baltimore Ravens. You look at teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers with Jalen Ramsey. All right, you look at these teams with kind of bigger slot players. It's the future of NFL defenses. All right, and what I would do is I would cut Marshon Lattimore. I would put Mike Sainristil on the outside where he played much better last year than how he's been playing in the slot this year. And then he put C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the slot, and he can cover people from that nickel position. He's a very physical tackler and a good run defender as well, and he frankly brings a mentality and a physicality to this Commanders defense that is greatly, greatly needed. Plus, he gets to play his former team in the Philadelphia Eagles not once but twice with the Washington Commanders if he signs here. So I think CJ is a piece that could make this defense a lot better right away, and you don't have to give up a draft asset to go get him. All right, so I think that this is a veteran piece addition that makes sense for the Washington Commanders. Let me know your pick down there in the comments section, and that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, hail to the Commanders.